see the window pop up. Okay. Make sure
Oh, yeah, because you don't go away.
you get, yep. There you go. Originally, and then you can call them and never really does.
Okay, it's 8:15. I'll call the meeting to order. The roll call, let it show that that Aaron Augustine and Clark Reimer are both busy in the field planting, and so they are excused. Item 3, approval or any changes on the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
A second. Okay, motion been made and seconded. Any questions? Excuse me. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Minutes were sent out. Did anybody have any changes, corrections, additions, deletions to the minutes of the last meeting? No. Motion to approve.
I'll make a motion.
Second by Tim, second by Nick. Any questions at all on the minutes? If none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Public comment. At this time, we will open up the meeting to public comments from the public. I will set my timer for 3 minutes as soon as you get into the meat of your comments. And so please keep them civil. So is there anybody from the public wishing to speak?
Just before you hit the timer, I'd like to request that you don't interrupt at that 10 seconds before the ending. You just kind of signal. I'd appreciate that, because that's a disruption to the flow of the speaker's thoughts. And okay, thank you. Appreciate it. Last meeting, the health ordinance and rolling back that was discussed. Vivian, I just want to tell you, thank you. I appreciate your commentary that you would oppose that measure, and that you certainly recognize that, but it was 85% of the voters saw that health ordinance went into place. If there is any further discussion on rolling back the health ordinance, I would hope that the county, this committee, and Land and Water would remember that for the citizens to see that got enacted, that had to go to all the towns. I would expect that same process of going to referendum would happen for a rollback on the health ordinance, if the county would choose to do such, to follow through on such a poor idea. I'm really concerned about the high nitrate issues in Casco. Certainly this isn't a new issue, but last month when that was discussed, I was really alarmed that the idea of running a hose at a place of business where children might be drinking that water, that was a possible remedy, that it seemed that the nitrates went from 12 down to 5. We know that nitrates are not cured by running a hose anywhere over a weekend. They're a persistent problem. And being that was a daycare for children, it just was alarming that there wasn't a further discussion about the idea that running a hose does not help a nitrate issue, and certainly one that is as egregious as that. So AgriPure had its public hearing yesterday. It's really troubling to me to think that in an age where phosphorus reduction is really being emphasized everywhere, that there would be the idea that we would allow AgriPure to dump excess phosphorus into an already EPA impaired river, which is the East Twin, and then that there would be a monetary exchange of $54.99 per pound, or $640,000 per year, whichever is less, which I read as the green light for AgriPure to really do a lot of phosphorus dumping in our county. I don't understand how the county's not involved in that conversation, or in the very least, putting forth its concerns about the East Twin River and cleaning it up. I did dig through some old articles and I saw that John Pagel had commented that he'd like to see the East Twin River get removed from the impaired waters list, EPA's impaired waters list, and I agree. I'm hoping that the committee today will discuss farmer mental health. We had a suicide of a farmer this month, and I'm just wondering how we help farmers in our community with these types of issues, and when we've dealt with a death such as what happened here last month. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else from the public wishing to speak before the committee? Anyone?
Sue Weiser from the town of West Kewaunee. And I emailed you emailed all of you a copy of my comments and a sample letter, landowner letter. As the Land and Water Committee members, your job is to uphold and promote Wisconsin Statute 92. Its main objective, to halt depletion of soil resources and pollution of its waters. This is not an on-off again duty, it's ongoing. January 2017, the Land and Water Committee voted to support the DNR County Workshop recommendations. Mr. Wagner made the motion. Included was the recommendation to get information out to landowners renting lands for manure waste application. Another recommendation to send a letter to all county well owners went out almost immediately from the health department. The landowner letter should or could have been sent in partnership, but it has been delayed for 5 years. A letter that Mr. Reamer noted at last month's meeting was not the one recommended by the workshop of 2016. On good authority, the health department did not go through the finance department. Funding for their letter came from their budget. On good authority, I'm told the department can move money from one budget line item to another to pay for a project, or if needed, can ask the finance committee to approve an amount from the general fund's contingency fund. This does not usually present a problem. Therefore, money should not be an issue. Do not brand this communication as a liability letter. It is not. Information only, nothing intimidating, not tying to reduce ag land base, not legally binding, or somehow putting the county at legal risks. It is important to keep landowners informed. I urge you to finally send an informational letter to all affected landowners in Kewaunee County. And as a point of information, county land rented out for crop and or manure spreading requires a signed written lease agreement. We could provide a sample written lease agreement with a supplemental information document on our Land and Water Department portion of the Kewaunee County website, similar to what Door County Soil and Water has. We should also be providing this information considering we have 16 plus CAFOs and Door County has 2. Also, it's my understanding Door County requires NMPs for all farms since 2008. Do we? Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else from the public wishing to speak to the committee? Anyone else from the public wishing to speak?
Hi, Chuck. As you know, Don Niles from Dairy Dreams and also from Minnesota Pride Parks. I'd like to speak to you today on a topic that you just heard about, and that is the proposed sending of letters to landowners. I would like to share our experience being on the border of Kewaunee and Door County with how that process has gone in Door County. A well-intentioned plan of sending out letters has turned into a very chaotic situation. We have landowners that are confused by the information they've got from the county. We've got the county department, by their own admission, using a tremendous amount of their resources and time just dealing with those concerns that people have for clarification, not concerns with the practices that are being done, but just what is the county saying here, and and causing great consternation a lot of times with people that live in Texas or California that own the land that are receiving these letters. The practical effect that we've seen for that is a degradation in the practices being done. As Davina knows, we all carefully plan ahead as far as what we're doing, when we're doing it, how we're doing it, and notify the county ahead of time what our plans are. And with these letters, we occasionally get a call the morning that we plan to go out and work a field and take care of those acres. And the call is, I'm very concerned about this. We tell them what's going on. They say, no, I want to talk to the county. And suddenly a well-planned day turns into a day where you're scrambling to come up with another plan for that day. And anytime you go from a planned situation to a abrupt, unplanned situation, you're more likely to create problems because you haven't followed your plan. So our experience has been on the edge of Door County that this has been a well-intentioned but very problematic process. I'd also like to say that a lot has changed in the 5 years in Kewaunee County as far as agriculture and non-agriculture integrate with each other. I've had the opportunity just in the last 3 weeks to give a talk to the Sturgeon Bay Rotary Club, all non-farmers, just wanting to know what we're doing in Peninsula Pride Farms, why we're doing it, how we're doing it. It's a great conversation. The next day, I had a conversation with the group of all the states and provinces around the Great Lakes, wanting to know what we are doing here in Kewaunee County that's working so well. So looking at it in all the other states and the provinces surrounding the Great Lakes as to how to follow what we're doing here. The next week, there was a call that the Nature Conservancy sent with the United Nations. Same thing. They're looking at how agriculture and non-agriculture can work together. I think we can look at Kewaunee County as a model of that. So thanks for your 10 seconds. I'll use my last 10 seconds since Aaron's not here to let you all know that our next farm meeting is going to be at Aaron's farm on the 25th at 5 o'clock, where anybody's invited to the Peninsula Pride Conservation Conversation to see what we're doing. Thank you.
Thank you. Is anybody else from the public wishing to speak to the committee? Is there anyone else from the public wishing to speak to the committee? Anyone else from the public wishing to speak to the committee? Thank you all for your comments. I'll close that portion of the meeting. We'll move on to the department reports.
So there's been no new agricultural waste storage permits in the last month, but there will be a couple coming up in the next couple months as our conservation plans have been getting approved by DABCAP and by DNR to start construction soon. And our 151 up.
Just a quick
go ahead.
question on that is, I guess, I mean, I'm hearing quite a bit about construction. The weather has been really pretty good this spring, as far as dry, as far as getting construction projects started and going. I'm hearing a lot of, it's just crazy, I guess, work. I hope things are going pretty good.
They are. The only issues is that we wrote these grants 3-4 years ago and they've been carried over because of the large rain events and prices have skyrocketed. So there's been some issues there and trying to get contractors because they are so busy right now. Contractor availability has been very hard to right now.
Okay.
And our 151 update, Travis is still walking fields like crazy right now. He hasn't given me an update as he was out in the field all day yesterday, but we haven't had any complaints for manure hauling. So the spring season went really well. And again, he's walking fields for looking at the home sites, looking at the barnyards, manure storages, fields for erosion, and getting all those issues fixed. Conservation plans, Pagels, Ponderosa, and the Jardin Farms, they updated their plans. New acres were added, so those need to be in their conservation plans for compliance for NR 151. Notice of non-compliance updates. Again, these are from the DNR. Shrinka Farms received a notice of violation in April of 21. And that is they had a discharge event on July 9th of 2020. We did issue a citation for the county on that. And then they also had a site inspection by the DNR. And there was some process wastewater discharges, and that was in 10 of 20. So those two events led to the notice of violation. So again, that's through the DNR. They will have an enforcement conference, but that is a DNR update or through their violation process. Groundwater protection ordinance went well. We had no complaints for the 0 to 20 feet, no spreading January 1st through April 15th, and we had no violations. We don't have any chapter 39 updates as we had a very well spreading season, and we haven't had any violations in the last couple months. I don't have a well testing update. We were awarded the coastal management grant, so I'm working on that for well testing. We're gonna have again 300 in July, 300 in November. Those will be handpicked. I'm trying to get the grant that we wrote again was for 0 to 20 feet landowners. So I'm comparing where their site is and trying to get well construction logs to verify the depth of bedrock, kind of similar to what Burkhart did. Because if we have all 0 to 20 feet or the majority, he can do a statistical analysis and to the wells that he tested 5 years ago to see if any progress has been made. Zoning's been very busy. Both Paul and Andrew's done a lot of the inspections out in the field because Paul's been doing a lot of the conservation construction side. So they had 6 soil inspections, 6 septic inspections, 18 reports coming in, 4 permit applications and 3 house numbers. So they've been pretty busy on the septic side of things. And they've been going in pretty steady, but again, trying to get the contractors availability. They're booked out almost through the summer right now. So they've been pretty busy. That is all I have for department reports for this
Okay.
month. Questions?
Any questions? Thank you. Cooperating agency reports, USDA, NRCS. I was in contact with the office yesterday. They are still shifting people, moving people and trying to get everything balanced out with the retirements that they had the last, with Joe Johnson and John Mullins from Brown County. I spoke with the gal who had taken over for John's position in Green Bay for the last 4 or 5 months. Laura
Watson.
Laura?
She was our conservation specialist for
And now
Kewaunee County.
she's here in Luxembourg. In fact, I'm stopping there after this meeting. Take care of some other things, but things are still backed up in that whole office area. So there's, but I guess just a side onto that, as far as Glacial Land RC&D, we've got another person that the NRCS has been hiring quite a few people through Glacial Land RC&D. So the RC&D program is really alive and well here in northeastern Wisconsin. And a lot of it has been hiring these technicians, these entry-level people. They're using us to basically screen them and screen the applicants and try to hire the best people. Now what they've been doing is they've been stealing them and hiring them direct, which is a good thing. I mean, it bodes well for Glacial Land that we're finding good people for them. They're very happy with the people, so they're hiring them direct, and we get to hire more people that way. So it's a win-win, I think, for everybody here, but it is helping out quite a bit for NRC. UW Extension, Erica also had contacted me and Davina saying that she was not going to be able to be here today. She will also not be able to be here. Right now she's starting to do the alfalfa cutting, the snipping thing that they do at this time of the year for the farmers. She's triple booked for today. June, she's also got another thing going on, so she won't be here next month either.
She also said that the newest custom rate guide was released a week ago, so that is available on Extension's website for Wisconsin. Yep.
And Brian's not here. Comments from state legislators. The only thing I got from Joel was that one of the main bills from the task force was the staffing grant for the land and water conservation departments. And there's so far there's been a lot of good. Seems like both sides of the aisle are in quite a bit in support of trying to totally fund that for the first time ever. That would be really great. Also, the big push that we're doing now is to make that funding a permanent funding line item so that we don't have to go through what we've gone through for the past 15, 20 years of trying to get it reallocated every 2 years. So,
And that's 100% of the first position, 70% of the second position, and then 50% of the next position.
any questions about any of those? Or otherwise, we'll go 7E, other agencies. I spoke a little at Glacial Land. That's about it. We have another conference call next Wednesday. Excuse me. And so, Tim, this would be the time for you to talk about Casco.
All right, I'll give you a little update on what has happened since last meeting. Since last meeting, I reported that the daycare had got their nitrate level down to 5. Meanwhile, I did receive another text message and phone call from the owner of the daycare that they jumped up to 10. So they now have to switch to, she said weekly testing because they average it out.
Yep.
It hasn't changed for what she's doing. She's still just using bottled water. That has not changed. So it's not a safety issue for the kids there, nothing like that. She's just trying to figure out how to get through the situation that she's in. Like I told you, she re-sleeved the well. They thought that was going to take care of the issue that was happening. They ran the water on the weekend like you usually do when you drill a new well or sleeve it to try to get things going. I haven't heard what the other test results. She sent them over the one that was at 10 again. So she was a little concerned and was wondering.
How quickly was she tested? Or how often was she tested?
Well, I think it was once a month, Chuck. I think it was, but now I think they're almost going to weekly.
Yeah.
Because I think they have an average of 3 or 4. Is it 3 to be on? And then that's how they look at it because they're governed totally different than everybody else. You know, my business is not governed or my home the way that daycare is governed. Same with the village kitchen or any restaurant. They follow different rules that we do. Explain that. And she understands that. She's been very helpful. Meanwhile, since that conversation, I talked to Joel Kitchens. We talked about a couple different things that were going on. I think everybody in the mail got a little survey yesterday too, and I see one of the questions on there is about groundwater, I think number 7. To fill out just concerns that we have with the upcoming budget. Joel and I had a nice talk. I explained to him what was happening in the village of Casco and sort of the town of Casco. I explained to him this didn't happen overnight. This has been going on for a while, but we're trying to figure out what's going on. I explained to him that not only the capos, but the small farms have been very helpful, very open to conversation with me explaining to them some of the problems that we're having and what can we do? Can we somehow work together? Joel said he would keep his ears open. If there's anything more we can do, I should email him, blah, blah, blah. Andre Jacques called me back. I had a discussion with him. I questioned, I know the village of Casco per se is getting funding coming from the federal government for certain things to improve sewer lines, municipal water, different things that we as a village can do with our $60,000 that we got. I know the Kewaunee County has got a chunk of money coming into. I know the standards, the rules are changing a little bit. So I just threw that out to both of these guys. Is there any way the village of Casco could use some of our money since we don't have a water tower? We have individual wells. Could we help this daycare out with using some of those dollars to maybe get her new well drilled or do something, get her RO system in? Because our reverse osmosis system in a daycare is completely different than what we put in our house. I mean, we get one faucet that's treated. In her daycare, she obviously would have to treat all of her faucets, which she said involved getting rid of copper pipes. I don't know any of that. Maybe everything has to be plastic. So she is checking into different options of what she can do here to try to take care of the problem. I had a conversation also with Peninsula Pride, a very good conversation with Don. I told him what was going on, which he was aware of some of it. I told him the farms that I had talked to and the conversations I had had. Don said, Tim, is there anything to try to help out with this? And I said, I understand everybody's following their rules, but we still have a problem. What can we try to do to change this? It's not going to happen overnight. Don had some good ideas. He gave me some advice that I'm gonna bring up at our village board tonight. We're actually gonna go in that subdivision, which it seems like we're having a little more problem on the new side of town, as I call it, the new side of the village, where the wells are sort of popping up over 10. Don had said, you know, have you guys televised all your sewer lines, just throwing things out there. So we as a village are gonna go through, even though we think they're all brand new sewer lines, we're gonna televise everything. I'm gonna bring that up at the meeting tonight, that we do that. So we're sure that we're not contributing to some of the problems that are going on. And so that's something we as a village are doing. Don said that he would help out and talk to some of the local farms and some conversations also when he was able to see if there's something maybe we could do as a little different practice to try to help out with this. So we're moving with it. We're talking about it. Hopefully we can get going. Once again, I said at the regular board meeting, Cindy and I just got our well tested and we're sort of on that side of the village, and ours came in at, I think, 11 or 12. So we came up high. So we know there's an issue there. We have an RO system in our own house, but that some people can't afford to do that. We're capable to do that ourselves. So we keep working at it. Once again, everybody has been super open to see if we can talk about it. It's not been this one saying no, this one saying yes. So we're going to keep working on it, and we're going to go. That's my update of what I got. So Lisa's been very open at the daycare. As she gets me documents, I'm going to pass them on. One thing I forgot to mention, we're trying to watch these spikes that are happening in the nitrate levels. Are they once a year? Are they twice a year? Are they fall and spring when liquid manure is being spread? So we're trying to watch where that sort of is. So I'm working on trying to get that organized.
I think, you know, unfortunately, the final answer might be a municipal water system.
And it may very well be, Chuck. That might have to be.
That's,
Yeah.
I realized that would be
A huge undertaking for the village.
astronomical. I mean, I'm wondering if there was an easy way. I mean, I don't want to have to burden some company or whatever with trying to come in and do a whole analysis. Would there be someone that could give basically a ballpark number of just what would that actually cost for the village? I mean,
It's not just a village, Chuck. It is, you know, the wells. I'm talking about our little village. Our village is very, very small. It goes beyond that, you know, it goes beyond. And some of the things that I talked with Don, and I was just throwing things out there. I said, Don, would it matter if we start surface spreading liquid manure versus knifing it in that 4 inches? Would that help? You know, let the sunshine do its thing. Let things happen. So Don was very helpful to me, giving me, you know, Tim, think about this. Yes, that would help, and very open. So
Well,
I'm
and
open.
with them testing weekly, and what we can do is plot that out.
Mhm.
And then we can say, okay, what happened from, you know, the 7th to the 14th on the land that would impact that well.
Correct.
Because surface applications, the sunlight's gonna take away the bacteria, but it's not gonna take
It's not
away the
gonna take away the
nitrates,
nitrates.
so.
But it's going to help things from getting through quicker, right?
Correct.
You know,
It's not gonna be injected. It's all sands, you know, you got 20 feet plus to bedrock, but you got those sands, and new
Like the
rules are
soils.
coming out on those sands, but probably not until 2022.
And I'm trying to keep the village of Casco and the town of Casco just abreast. I don't want everyone to go get really scared about this. You know, there's new structures coming in the village. We want people to feel safe and healthy, and we want them to move into Kewaunee County. That's tax dollars for all of us.
I just want to thank you, Tim, for all of this work that you've been doing on it. Really appreciate it because it helps the committee and helps the department. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Let's see, anything else from other organizations? We had the Lake Michigan District Land and Water Conservation Association meeting last Friday. And there were a couple of presentations made. One of them was about the NER, the northern estuarine
Reserve,
reserve,
estuarine reserve, not marine.
whatever. And it's an issue that some of you guys, neither one of you guys, I guess, would have heard about it. But here, how long ago has that been? Year and a half ago, at least that. Maybe Scott, remember when I had the
Are we talking
conversation?
about the
preserve the the marine sanctuary? What are we
No,
talking
no, no,
about?
no, no. Make sure there's a great big wall
Right.
between the
Right.
project in Lake Michigan
Yep.
and this project in the Bay of Green Bay. Because they do not want to be, they're fully aware of that project and
Yep.
the kind of the issues there. This has got nothing to do with that. This would be a research and a kind of a central hub area to deal with all of the different types of projects that could take place around Green Bay. And it would be located probably UWGB area or someplace. They don't really know where they would have a building. And, but they're very excited about it. They've got this new person now that they have actually hired to be basically the director of that. And so she's very focused and sounds like she's very knowledgeable. So I think it's a very good idea. They had approached us about a year and a half or so, 2 years ago, looking at a supportive resolution that Kewaunee County could do. It kind of got waylaid, I guess, by COVID a little bit, and didn't come to fruition. They're not looking for a resolution at this point. They would like to get, some support and that sort of thing. But they're not looking at monetary. The funding for this whole thing comes from, was it NOAA or EPA?
I think a
There was some-
combination. of
It was
both.
all, yeah, it was federal funding
Mhm.
comes from this thing, so. What's the other one about?
Friday seems so long ago.
Yeah, I know. So many things have happened since Friday. Anyway, I think it's a very good, I would like to see us get back to face-to-face meetings with that group. And there is a summer tour. I'm not sure if they're actually planning a tour for the summer or not.
It's
not
still up
fine-
in
it's
the
still up
air
in the
for
air
COVID, yeah.
because of COVID. Okay,
For
So-
other matters, nothing, I haven't heard anything on the DNR work group updates. Nothing. Joe Baton was running the alternative meetings, and that is just kind of, maybe I'll make a note to check in with DNR on that. The TMDL update, all the updates, if there are any new ones, are online. I haven't heard anything new since, so if you just Google the Northeast TMDL, any updates will be available on that page, but they have not, I think right now they've collected all their data and they're just running all the models right now, so. And that takes a long time, because before they can start doing the document and get that approved, they have to do all the modeling to see where the phosphorus loads are coming in. And they included nitrogen, so they have to do the nitrogen too. So
This is the first one we're doing nitrates. Right?
this is the first TMDL to include nitrates. Now, there are no standards for nitrates in surface water, I believe. So they're gonna kind of see where our baseline is and then try to reduce the baseline.
There's some guidelines between 2 and 6.
Yeah, there's
correct?
guidelines, but nothing like phosphorus. Phosphorus has a state limit, it has a federal limit. So it'll be interesting to see what those models come out. That's all I have for aid.
Okay. The public concerns list, after a lot of discussion, and there's been some requests, there's, I guess, a little confusion as to whether or not the issue of sending out the letters to landowners was something that had been voted on by a previous committee and turned down. I don't know the other members of the committee, if you have any, any further comments on it. I think at this time it's going to be basically set on the shelf. We're not having a huge, I'm not having a huge outcry either from either side. Actually, I'm getting a little more information from the farmer side saying that this stuff is already taken care of in their plans. They have to contact people, have to tell people what's going on when they rent property. And so to have an expenditure, basically no matter how small it is, I don't believe it's the most useful expenditure of taxpayer dollars. I guess at this time, it's not something that couldn't come back later, but you know, you guys have any other comments or?
I would agree with that, Chuck. I haven't heard any concerns from any landowners, that rent out land. But I believe that the point of contention is liquid manure, and I have not been contacted by any landowners who rent to farms that apply manure to their acres requesting additional information. I think the farmers are getting that information out, or applying manure in a responsible manner, and that talks, for itself.
And as I stated last meeting, I did not personally see a problem with the letter. I thought it was open, upfront, and honest. I understand hearing Don today say that Door County had some issues with it. I thought most of the farms had had contracts written out already. I just thought that was a normal thing. I don't have a problem with being clear and open and upfront and honest with people. I didn't think it was a problem. I didn't think the funding should be an issue. It's an informative letter. I understand there's two sides to it both, but my personal opinion is I didn't see a problem with the letter. So, and it didn't matter who drafted the letter. Some of them I read, I thought were very confusing to people. They alarmed people when maybe they didn't need to be alarmed. Some of them I thought were very quiet, very simple, very to the point. But you guys have been through this before. I'm new on this committee. I'm just telling you from what I see from right now and being out in the community, I didn't think it would be a problem. So, but that's where I'm at.
So unless there's any other things on any other items on the list that we're looking at or thinking about at this time. Well, we can.
Can I ask a clarification question, Chuck? And maybe I'm not clear on this, and maybe that's why Scott's here. And I'm not trying to open a can of worms. I'm just trying to understand some things. I heard that number thrown out today, that 640,000. Is this a DNR thing that goes on in Kewaunee County? Was it like a nuclear plant thing where we got funding?
For AgriPure?
Yes, that's what I'm asking.
Okay, so
Help me understand.
that is new to this permit.
Okay.
I had not heard of, we had emails coming through to the department and to finance saying, we're getting this money. We have never received a check from AgriPure. It is new to this permit, and I'm trying to get more information from DNR on this. So it sounds like AgriPure can make a payment to the county. When this kicks in, I don't know. I don't know if they exceed their level or if it's their level that they're allowed to discharge, that they have to pay that $54.90, whatever it is, per pound. I'm trying to get that. From what I have learned, that money has to go. So it's kind of like what New Water does, where they do the watershed plans with the county, where you have to do practices in that watershed to reduce the pounds of pee with that funding. Not 100% of the funding, but I think it's like a 65-35 match. Again, I'm trying to get more clarification on this because I did not know anything about this program. I didn't know that I was trying to understand it when it came into this new permit. That would have to be, and from listening to the public hearing yesterday, it sounds like Matt, who's in charge of this at the DNR, says it has to go to agricultural practices, not like landowner practices. So that is all written in state statute. So I'm trying to get more information on that. We weren't involved in any of these conversations. There's no, what am I looking for? Agreements that have been signed by any county members and AgriPure or DNR. I don't know if they're going to be required or if AgriPure can just make the payment. A lot of that is really gray area for me, and I'm trying to get those answers.
The thing that got brought up to me, to be done, once again, this is maybe just hearsay, maybe just people talking in the public. They were concerned that this amount of money would be distributed to Kewaunee County at sort of what they were an agreed rate. Well, then all of a sudden, if Agri-Pure decides, well, we're paying this much at this point, we're locked in at $640,000 over how many years, we're going to expand now, and we can continue to produce more and produce more and produce more, but we're not paying for it, not being penalized for it, whatever word you want to use. So that's one of the concerns that came up.
And they have to operate to their permit. So I believe if they're going to expand it anytime, like a CAFO, that has to be approved in their permit. And DNR is the permit holder. So I found that the email from Matt Bosher, I forgot that name. Because I said, shouldn't the county be involved and have handwritten agreements in place if there's money exchange in the future? And he said, under the MDV program, no written agreements are required between the paying point source and recipient. The payment is required under the point source discharge permit and will be allocated to participating counties. Now, whether we're going to be a participating county or not, that's also up to the DNR. Participation is voluntary. If Kewaunee County chooses not to participate, Agri-Pure's payment would be directed to neighboring counties. And then, okay, so then I said, what were the stipulations? Submit a plan by March 1st within a year of receiving money. So if we receive a payment from Kewaunee County, we would have a year to submit a plan. The plan should prioritize agricultural sites, be a cost sharing to meet NR 151 standards. Then we would have to submit a report by May of the year after that on like what you're gonna do. At least 65% of the total funding must be used for cost sharing practices to implement, or cost sharing to implement practices, and up to 35% may be retained by the county for staffing, monitoring, or modeling. And then I said, my third question was, is Agri-Pure allowed to have higher discharges? And they said Agri-Pure will be subject to a lower effluent limit for phosphorus than it is currently required in their permit. The effluent limit will not be as low as the calculated final phosphorus effluent limit. However, they are still expected to meet the final phosphorus limits at some point in the future. The variance only temporarily delays compliance with the final water quality-based effluent limit. In the interim, Agri-Pure will be required to optimize phosphorus removal from their waste stream and also pay for non-point phosphorus reductions based on the phosphorus discharge. So in this way, there is an economic incentive to discharge as little phosphorus as possible. So again, we don't make the rules. This is all state statute. This exchange is in their permit process and it is allowed by the state of Wisconsin. I asked why the county wasn't made aware, and they said the MDV has been publicized heavily through Wisconsin Land and Water, including their conferences and listserv. Because participation is voluntary, we do not check with the counties before authorizing a county payment. And then, yeah, so that was kind of the questions I had. So that should answer most of your questions. So it sounds like there has to be plans, sounds like there has to be phosphorus reductions in the watershed in order to be eligible for that money. And there's been no talks to this point as whether Kewaunee will be or will not be a participating county.
So as we get more information, learn.
Yeah, and I can forward that email to you. That was me trying to figure out where that Terry Markuson actually found it in the permit. So we've been trying to track down more information on that.
Do we need to reach out to them, whether it's Land and Water or LCC, or are they reaching out to us from the voluntary participation?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to figure that out. So I'll probably work with the administration and DNR, because DNR authorizes who participating counties are. So I need to determine whether or not we want to be one or not, and then go from there. And their permit hasn't been approved yet, so the public hearing was just yesterday. They're still They still receive comments up to 7 days after the permit hearing, and then they answer all those questions, and then they either approve or deny the permit.
Does the money need to be spent within the East Twin watershed, or is it?
That is my understanding, is because they discharge to that watershed, that reduction has to be in that watershed.
And does it have to be just in that water, what portion of that watershed is in Kewaunee County, or could it move into Manitowoc?
Again, I don't know. I'm assuming that it's participating counties, so Brown and Kewaunee are both participating counties because East Twin does go into Brown County.
Yeah.
Both of our counties could be a participating county. And therefore the money could go to one county, two counties, or neither.
Right. Anything else? Otherwise, we'll go to the action item, this resolution, which I'd seen a copy of this from a different county. And I guess because Kewaunee County is fairly active in this wildlife abatement program, that would be a good thing for the county to support this resolution. So I hope you both have had a chance to read it. And I think that there's move this forward to the full county board for approval.
I'll make a motion, Chuck.
Motion by Tim,
I'll second to support that.
second by Nick. Any questions at all on this? Like I say, the county's fairly active in it.
Yeah. Ryan
so-
Medke comes to our meetings and does the claims and we set the prices. This would take away a lot of the county control. So we like having, where Clark and them discuss what the prices should be, who's in and out of the programs. That kind of stuff.
And we have a fairly large participation group.
We do. We have a lot of deer damage. We have a lot of goose damage.
So,
Turkey damage.
okay. Any other questions? All right. Motion to approve has been made and seconded. All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. I'm gonna sign this one or that one. I'll sign yours just in case.
It doesn't matter. If you want to
Sure,
get
I'd like
that,
to say
if you want to get that too. Oh, actually, I can give it to Scott and he can turn over that.
Well,
So future meetings, I have June 8th at 8:15, again, going with the second Tuesday of every month. And then July 13th. So those are the two upcoming meetings that I have. Oh, I also have the septic. updates.
This would be a question more for Jeff. With Jeff's expanded, all change duties that he's got now.
He's still our corp counsel. He's
Right.
Still handling all those.
Still handles these. I guess
Correct.
I should ask him the question of how the process is going with some of these. I mean, we're getting on to 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, and
So-
he's issuing citations and working with them and.
Yeah.
A lot of them from like prior to 2017, there's no one living at the houses. So they're not being used right now. So we're working on getting those like properly abandoned. And 18, 19, yeah, those, we had wet years and everything got backed up, so. We meet probably quarterly and go through the list with Jeff. So we're making good progress on.
Anybody have any questions on this? Okay. The only thing I have to say, I guess, is wrap up with thank you very much, to the public, for coming, getting us reviews. And I look for a motion to adjourn. I'll move the motion by Nick.
I will second.
By Tim. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, so then I just hit end.
No more.